Every furnace, boiler, and kiln in an industrial plant throws away energy as heat. Hot exhaust, heated products, and radiating metal surfaces all mean a large fraction of the fuel a factory buys leaves as waste heat rather than useful work. This flowchart illustrates where that energy actually goes. Across industry, roughly 20 to 50% of the total energy fed into manufacturing processes ultimately escapes as waste heat. For U.S. industry as a whole, that annual waste heat stream is on the order of 13 quadrillion British thermal units. But as this chart updates, you can see the reality of recovery. Only about 1.5 quadrillion of those BTUs are technically and economically recoverable with established technology. The reason that recoverable fraction is so much smaller than the total loss comes down to a central rule of thermodynamics. Heat has a grade, dictated by its source temperature, and that grade decides exactly how it can be captured. Much of this energy bleeds right out into the plant invisibly. Look at the bright heat signature on this uninsulated section of ducting. A thermal imaging camera makes the escaping energy visible, showing heat constantly conducting and radiating into the air. Recovering even a fraction of this stream is one of the most cost-effective efficiency measures available to a facility, provided engineers correctly match their equipment to the physical grade of the heat. The Department of Energy classifies waste heat by its source temperature. High-grade heat comes in above roughly 1200 degrees Fahrenheit, and because of that high temperature, it offers the largest, most straightforward recovery opportunities. The simplest way to recover this energy is to return it to the exact same process. A recuperator is a gas-to-gas heat exchanger placed directly in the hot flue gas stream leaving a furnace. Instead of generating electricity, the recuperator uses those hot flue gases for combustion air preheat. The recovered thermal energy warms up the incoming air, carrying the heat right back into the furnace flame. Because the incoming air is already hot, the system requires less new fuel to maintain the same furnace temperature. Industry sources commonly log fuel savings on the order of 25% from this simple loop. These devices rely on mature, well-understood mechanics and avoid the complexities of power generation entirely. Because of their short paybacks, they are usually the very first target an energy audit looks for. When source temperatures fall between 450 and 1200 degrees Fahrenheit, we enter the medium-grade band. This is typically where you find the hot exhaust leaving a standard industrial gas turbine. This schematic shows a common mechanical solution, the bottoming cycle. A secondary thermodynamic cycle is stacked right onto the exhaust stream of the first. The gas turbine exhaust passes through a heat recovery steam generator to boil water, driving a secondary steam turbine for additional power from the same fuel. A simple cycle turbine converts about 35% of fuel energy to electricity. As the data updates, adding the steam bottoming cycle pushes a combined cycle plant to 60% thermal efficiency. Alternatively, combined heat and power, or cogeneration, stops wasting the heat from making electricity altogether. Instead of rejecting heat to a condenser, cogeneration captures it to supply site steam or hot water directly to the plant. By expanding the system boundary to include both power generation and thermal demand, a facility can reach total fuel use efficiencies of roughly 75%. When a plant needs steady electricity and process heat, cogeneration is the highest impact efficiency investment available. Low-grade heat, exhaust below about 300 degrees Celsius, makes up roughly half of the unrecovered total across industry, but it is thermodynamically stubborn. Traditional steam turbines fail in this range because the source temperature simply isn't high enough to boil water efficiently. To capture this final band of energy, engineers deploy a different system entirely, the organic Rankine cycle. It runs a conventional Rankine cycle, but swaps water for an organic working fluid with a much lower boiling point. This allows the fluid to boil and expand usefully against a turbine at heat source temperatures down to roughly 90 degrees Celsius. The trade-off is strict. Because the available temperature difference is so small, net electrical efficiencies for low-grade units are typically around 5 to 10%. Even with single-digit efficiency, it remains the only viable method to scavenge the final usable energy from a factory footprint. Moving from a thermodynamic ideal to an actual physical installation requires rigorous sizing. Engineers pull out a folding rule and confirm tube outside diameters and fin spacing to ensure the heat exchanger will perform in the real world. Theoretical analyses often suggest massive efficiency gains, but published real-world figures land substantially lower once component limits, tight packaging, and the fluctuating nature of transient operation are factored in. This gap between the ideal and the installed result reinforces the core economic rule of waste heat recovery. The financial value of what you capture falls strictly as the temperature drops. Proving the investment requires a rigorous data trail. Engineers rely on extensive logs of flue gas temperatures before and after a recuperator is fitted to verify exactly how much margin was recovered. Waste heat genuinely is free energy in the sense that the fuel has already been bought, but capturing it is not free. It is an exercise in strict accounting, demanding that the recovery method matches the precise grade of the heat. Understanding how these thermodynamic cycles stack and operate is the foundation for auditing and upgrading industrial thermal systems. You can read the full technical briefing on how engineers track and capture these thermal gradients at ProReadyEngineer.com. Mastering the principles of thermodynamic grading provides the exact tools required to design the next generation of highly efficient industrial plants.